Welcome to Hustle Radio, a podcast about the New York hustle mentality centered in the e-commerce industry, the official podcast of the E-Com Cooperative. Introducing your hosts, Frank Acosta and David Dayon.
Yo.
Okay, how we doing, Frank?
What's up, man? We're live, man, on New York Hustle Radio. What an intro,
Live
man.
with episode 4 of New York Hustle Radio. We have a very special guest today, Frank. Please announce who the guest is. Who do we have?
Elizabeth Greene is in the building.
Jungler. From Jungler. Jungler is a ad management agency.
Yep.
I was actually going to ask Elizabeth this, but I didn't. I decided that Elizabeth is the PPC queen. That's what I'm going to start.
I was giving her that name, bro.
No. You might have thought of it also when I was thinking of it.
I said it
great
first.
minds think alike. But that's what I'm going to call Elizabeth the PPC queen. Me personally, and I mean this is an informal intro, but me personally, for as long as I could remember, have been looking for Elizabeth's content on social media to learn about the updates of the advertising world. So we have a very, very special guest here today. And without further ado, how are we doing, Elizabeth?
What's up,
Hello,
Elizabeth?
very good. I don't like giving myself titles, but I'll take it. I'll take anything I can get.
PPC Queen, we're going to coin it. So we always start with some music. And we always start with Frank screaming, "We are live." So, without further ado,
what's pop? Came in the game, really rock.
How do you know about this music, baby?
We are live.
Get it. Shout out. It's seven. David, we're not drinking?
No, not today.
No? Nah.
Not today.
I have this good coffee that I've been drinking for the past 20 minutes. And yeah, all right, coffee. Coffee it is. Let's stick to coffee. What's up, Elizabeth? How are you?
I'm doing good.
First of all,
This
love
is
that.
legit. I love.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I love that wooden backdrop you have. Everybody usually has a fake backdrop. You have it's legit.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
So Elizabeth,
it is legit.
I wanna let the listeners know, a little bit about you. If you could just give a quick intro. I I already said what you do. Maybe you want to even take it to where you're coming from, a little bit before Jungler. So please tell the audience who you are, where you're from.
Yeah. So my name's Elizabeth Greene on the screen. Basically, very succinctly, we are an Amazon ad agency, help Amazon sellers manage their ads full service. So all the stuff, we take it off your plate, we run it, bring our expertise to the table, and help you to be you having to do all the keyword research and making sure checking strategy. We're in it all day, every day. Like David was saying, I do keep very up on what's happening. I like to share that. It's always fun to find a new button, a new solution, a new way to look at stuff. So leverage us because we enjoy it. I'm blessed to be in a space that I just have fun doing it. I have fun coming up with new strategies. So it's kind of nice when you can enjoy what you do and then get results.
Love it. Yeah, this space is, me and David are always talking about how much we love the space, but sometimes it comes with its, blessing and its curses, right? Sometimes the e-com world, it's it has you endless amount of hours. Sometimes you need to solve problems, that you need to stay up. You need, it requires a lot. It requires a lot of attention. And yeah, it's fun and cool, and we look like we're enjoying it. But once the heat of the moment comes in, I have a crazy storm out here. I don't even know what's happening nonstop.
Oh no.
But it's cool, man. Long Island, New York. See, David's in Jersey. It's not raining over here. Here it's raining. Very close states. But yeah, it's when the heat of the moment comes in these type of businesses as an agency owner, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. It gets to be a lot. But it's not too bad. Like I said, if you enjoy the work, enjoy what you do, then
I say that all the time. I tell it to everybody. If you enjoy what you're doing, you never. It's like that. There's like that cheesy line. You'll never work a day in your life. I don't know about that, but you enjoy. Time passes quickly, and I didn't always do what I do. I had a 9-to-5 job, and I was miserable, and I would watch the clock. And I didn't know if that was something that I was just always going to do. Maybe because I have I don't like to sit through speeches. I have a little ADD. I'm a busybody, so I thought maybe I'm not a good worker or something. But I very quickly realized do something you enjoy. And I don't think I looked at the clock in 3 years of running Amazon Experts, and I love it. I love what I do. So, and nice. I know you love what you do also, Elizabeth. I want to take it a little bit before Jungler. I want to talk about, first of all, how long you've been doing Jungler. You started Jungler like 2 years ago, I want to say.
Yeah, so it's been a little over 2 years now.
So 2 and change. What was that like? Why did you start? What were you doing before? That's 2 questions. Why did you start? What were you doing before?
So I started at
PPC. I feel like that's the, did you have an experience with ads before Jungler? That's really.
Yeah, I mean, so slight experience. I knew about the Amazon space. I didn't know how big this space was. I think until you kind of step behind the curtain and you realize that there's this entire little world, and it's not so little anymore, or hasn't been for a while. But until you kind of get past that, I don't even think anyone really realizes how big this space is, and then how many services have grown up just around not even selling on Amazon, but supporting sellers who sell on Amazon. So I think there's a real need in the space. And then with how Amazon's building out their ad side like a rocket ship, it feels like there's something new coming out almost every week now. There's just a real need for someone who can be in that all day, every day, leverage that for sellers without them having to learn it and be in it themselves. So you get both sides looking for ad help. You get the side that says, hey, I really know what I'm doing, but I just don't have the time. I audited one account today. I mean, they're doing some things absolutely phenomenal, but it's like there's 5 different areas that you just don't have time to leverage. You should be leveraging, but it's a full-time job just keeping up with that one piece they have going. So you do get that. As far as my background, it's not corporate at all whatsoever. And in fact, getting into this space, even just sending emails, it was like, am I sounding weird? Because I came from it the flip side. So there's a lot of women who get in, they grow up and they have the amazing careers and all right, now I'm going to get the family and the kids. I did the opposite. I got the family and the kids, and then kind of moved into this, and I've transitioned into pretty much just running the agency mostly. So I was a stay-at-home mom for how long? 10 years? Something like that.
Wow.
So
I mean, a while. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. I always wanted
last
that,
week about all the different, because the podcast is called Hustle Radio. We always try to pull the hustle out, but we were talking last week about a very special kind of hustle that, I mean, me and Frank don't know, but the mom hustle.
Yeah.
There is nothing like the mom hustle.
Next level.
And I'm going to bring it up again, even though we mentioned it in last week's episode. There's that famous video that went viral of a guy interviewing people saying, okay, there's no pay. He speaks to the person. It's no pay. That. You never get a break. There's no vacations. You can never sit down. And one of the points lost some, everybody was like, all right, I'll deal with I'll do this, I'll deal with that. And then everyone was getting lost on a certain point. And at the end of the interview, nobody was interested in the position. And they were like, all right, so what's the position? And it's like, mom. And it's like, what? And you don't realize how much, the stay-at-home mom or some cases the stay-at-home dad, if that's the case, there's a lot of work, raising kids and shout out to my wife, shout out to Frank's wife, shout out to all the wives, and kudos to you. And then just a little feedback, Elizabeth. I've seen audits from tons of people, but if you're second guessing, I mean, it's been almost 3 years now, right? But if you're second guessing that, I'm going to tell you that your audit is on the higher end of what I've ever seen. So, and that's
I appreciate that.
That's not even management. That's just you telling the person if you can help them. So that's like step one before you even, talk about service. You're already, very ahead of anything I've ever seen. So kudos to that. And way to use that mom hustle to, I guess get to the next.
Yeah, it teaches you to multitask for sure. For sure.
So I want to dive a little bit into advertising. And although you said it before, it's full-time jobs. I feel like Amazon, it might start off as a part-time responsibility, but as it grows, I feel like it almost becomes multiple full-time responsibilities. And it's almost like a one-man show is insufficient today. If you want to have a real business, you need a team. You need somebody who knows advertising and knows how to manage and knows how to monitor and knows how to come up with strategy. I want to touch on a post that you just made about advice, because I always say that there's no advice that just works for everything, and there are some tips and tricks that you can say for the most part apply to every category, apply to every advertiser. And maybe there's more don't do this than there are do this. I feel as not a PPC master, but I feel that there's, like, in my opinion, I guess there's a lot of things that you can do that are not the worst thing in the world. Like when you're starting out with campaigns and you're deciding how many campaigns to make, how to group them, there's all practices, there's all rule of thumb and all that stuff. And I mean, we can talk all day about that. But what I want to kind of, I guess, focus in on is there anything that you have seen that across the board, and again, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if there's anything like this, but is there anything that you've seen that across the board, every advertising campaign you've ever worked on, there's something that applies to it, or something that either it might be easier to say, like kind of like your post of a couple days ago, don't do this, but I want to know if there's anything at top level that you can say, from managing X amount of accounts, I have seen this, because I have seen that to be true on the management side of things. I know that there's a certain recipe for success, and I guess that's my question to you. No pressure. It's a hard question to answer, but and again, you can answer with the don'ts if that's easier. But is there anything that you would say is like applies to everyone?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
And it's not going to be conventional, like set up campaigns like X. There's best practices there, but you're not going to kill yourself if you set it up differently. But I would say focusing on relevant traffic is going to be across the board, regardless of product, regardless of space, regardless of niche. It will be focusing on what is very heavily related to your product, not worrying about, I see it all the time. My personal absolute favorite keyword research tools is reverse ASIN. I think everyone knows it. Oh, we're going to go see what my competitor is. You're going to see what my competitor ranks for. And oftentimes that list is going to bring you back thousands of keywords. And you're going to say, oh my goodness, he's ranking for thousands of keywords. And you're like, great. That doesn't mean you should be using all of those thousands of keywords. So I would say, focus on what is heavily related to your product. And that kind of sounds like relevant. What does that even mean? It's like optimize. You're like, how, what, like, what is this thing? It's literally going to Amazon, typing that keyword, what shows up on the page. Because if you know about ranking, you know that ranking is one of the huge determining factors is sales velocity. So if they're getting a lot of sales velocity through a keyword, that product should rank. And so you can kind of infer what people are buying based on what's showing up on the page. And that will kind of give you clues as to who and what segment of the market is looking for this product. Now, Is that feasible across an account with thousands of SKUs and hundreds of, thousands of keywords for all of those products? Probably not for every single one of them. But if you're picking, like, you're ranking what you are going to be spending all of your money on, you probably want to do that manually.
Okay. So now I want to follow up that with, when you go through when you're judging relevancy, again, and forgive me if I'm misspeaking or saying something incorrect. When you're going through the search term report and looking, the search term report is the report that tells you all the keywords and the interaction with the product. Mm-hmm. And when you're looking through that, I think it's a mixture of data, seeing what worked, but it also has to do with common sense. I find myself thinking that common sense is less and less important. So I'll just give an example just to take it down to simple terms. If I have a black sweatshirt and for some reason the word blue sweatshirt is bringing me a lot of sales, technically it's not a blue sweatshirt, but the data is showing me and proving to me that people are buying my black sweatshirt when they type the word blue sweatshirt. So although it doesn't make any sense, and you can theorize of maybe they wanted a dark colored sweatshirt and then they end up finding this, and maybe it's a guy searching for maybe men search for darker colors, maybe it's just a guy and he doesn't, enough people don't care about buying black or blue. And the bottom line is, whatever theory you're going to go with, the bottom line is this keyword is getting you sales. So I sometimes you'll see that, like, there's a word that just doesn't make any sense. And I always find myself questioning, like, all right, if the word really doesn't make any sense and maybe I didn't make so many sales on it, does relevancy really follow common sense, or does it do you think it just follow the data? If the data is telling you it's working, go nuts on the data. Because although I do believe that you do follow the data, you lean towards the data, I feel like it might not always make sense to follow the data. I'm looking to you to clarify.
No, I would agree with that. I guess I was talking more of when you have no data in the beginning, or if you have limited amounts of data, or if you tried something and you're like, this isn't working, why? Oftentimes you can go search and you can gauge from that when there is no data. If there is data, absolutely. Now, would I logically take blue sweatshirt and bid on it really heavily with a high bid? Probably not. Because I think logic always is going to come into play. But on the flip side, when you're talking about following data to, maybe logically common sense tells me this is going to work, you can actually have the reverse of that. So, for instance, we sometimes pick highly relevant keywords that are exactly the product. We've scoped it out. Absolutely, this is where the product fits in the market, and you bid very heavily on it, and you spend a lot, and you get a bunch of clicks and no sales. Well, the data is telling you people aren't interested in the product in relation to that keyword. Doesn't make any logical sense. Maybe not. Maybe you're looking at it going, I cannot believe this is not working. But data is telling me I just spent $50 and got nothing for it. So maybe you want to go with that instead of saying this has to work and just keep throwing money at it. So I think it goes both ways.
I commend people that are able to do that, because you always find people who are like, oh, it's not working, let's stop the bleeding. And then once in a while you meet the special client who tells you, as long as we're ranking and as long, this is the goal and this is what we want. And when the client actually understands that, and it's very commendable. So I guess.
Yeah. So I will say on that, if I'm not talking about getting sales and still having a high A cost. Sometimes it's just the market telling you this is what you have to pay for the click. This is what you have to spend to get here. If you can start ranking on it, then you just make that determination. Am I willing to spend this to get this result? And if you are, fine, go for it. If you're not, pull back. That, either way, you just have to know that one of them's a trade-off. One, you're going to have less profits. The other one, you should get more profits, but it's going to be a long-term play. What I was speaking more to is when it's very obvious it's not working, you're getting clicks, there are no sales, and you see no rank influence from it. In those cases, there is no upside. So make that determination.
Okay. I have one more question about PPC, and then I want to tie it into the hustle theme.
Okay.
So my question is, and again, this is something that I find myself believing. You just mentioned in the beginning, you might not have data yet. It might take some time to generate that data. I want to say, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I want to say that a rule of thumb for every advertiser in the Amazon world is that you need to just, like, if you're starting up day one, you have to know that you're giving a certain amount of time to just pay for a chance, not necessarily for a business. You don't know if there's a business yet. And that's something that I believe, and I think you believe that, but I want to confirm that and ask you, and maybe get it in your own words. But basically, do you find that there's like a basic time frame of like, you got to be doing this for X amount of time before you can really judge it? So, I mean, any advertiser in the world, somebody who's thinking about advertising, because there's people who don't believe, oh, I don't believe in advertising. We don't need advertising. You've heard that before, right? Someone like that, how long, if they're looking to advertise, how long do they need to try it for? Because I always love to tell someone, if you're contemplating and you think you're just going to give it 1 week, don't even do it. And I really think that that's the right, like, it's a waste of money to just do it for 1 week. Unless you see tremendous results and you're willing to do it another week. But again, I want to know if you agree with that. I want to know if you disagree. Is there a time frame? Is there a minimum? And if you do a week or 2 weeks, is it even not worth it? Am I right with that assumption, or am I wrong?
So I would say you're probably right if you're just going to do it for a week and not, like, that's all you say, I give it a week, probably not a week. Although I will say, I don't know if there's like a hard and fast rule, because there are some times where seasonality comes into play. So for instance, if you're launching like now, June, July are like historically some of the slowest months, and most people would just kind of know this, that, you've been around the block a while, you realize, okay, here we come with the slump, we reassess, we fine tune. But if you're coming into the market and you don't realize, kind of where, so Q4s are, our peak, but then cost per clicks go up. So if you don't kind of understand where you're getting into the market, and you might just throw something out and say, try it. However, I am kind of a big fan of, if you are starting out, you might not have the budget to hire, a high level service. Maybe you do, and that's great, and you can leverage somebody else's expertise. But oftentimes, just, management fees plus, possible returns might not be the best ROI. And I have no problem, you coming to me and saying, I'm just not ready to work with you. And I say, yeah, probably at your, where you're at right now, it doesn't make financial sense for you to work with us. And I have no problem. Hopefully you left with a couple tips, and, you get some insights into your ads, and, I wish you all the best. And, hopefully you'll come see me in 6 months. But, I'm still a big fan of, and think that there is a possibility on Amazon to start small. Now, I will say, I wouldn't recommend, if you don't know what you're doing, go out and throw, because someone say, okay, you need to run sponsored product ads, you need to run sponsored brand ads, you need to run headline, you need to do display. If you want to maximize it, yes, you should absolutely be running all of the above. If you have no experience with running ads, don't do that. You will most likely lose a lot quickly. So I still think there is a potential to start small and work out from that. And so I think it more comes down to taking a real assessment of your business, of your budget, of what you can do, of your product niche. Hopefully, I mean, there's a lot of really good content out there now on Amazon ads, kind of where to start, and then just start small. Start small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very well said.
So it's a little twist. It's a little twist on what I was saying. It's
yeah.
And I agree, because I don't think I know everything. Especially in the ad world, it's always changing, which is a great transition into the next part of what I want to bring out. We always try to kind of correlate the topic with hustle. It's not so hard. You can always figure, if it has to do with business and someone's doing a good job at it and ringing the register, they're hustling. So, but I kind of loved the idea that I had of kind of relating PPC advertising and the hustle life. Something which I know to be true, and I'm sure you'll confirm for me, especially at Amazon. Advertising is always, it's always changing. There's always a new report. There's always a new tool. There's always a new thing.
Yeah.
I feel like you got to just roll with the punches. You got to, like, if you're a PPC queen, it's not enough to just say, all right, I know everything. You have to constantly be defending your title, because there's going to be multiple times a year. I want to say, like, I guess from what I notice, it's maybe once every 6 months, but sometimes I see like once every 3 months even, a drastic change in something. You know, it's not just the way they have it set up. It's another report, another tool, and I feel like specifically in the Amazon space, for sure, you got to be on your toes. You got to know how to pivot. You got to know how to roll with the punches. But I feel like even more so with advertising, and it has to do with Google, ads as well as Amazon. But I want to say Amazon even more so, because they're always changing things up. I feel like from the books I read about Google advertising, it's kind of the same. It's been the same. With Amazon, they've been reintroducing Google ideas, and they're just always changing it. It's like Amazon's way to always keep changing. Just in case anybody's like now a master, let's change it now. Thanks for that, everybody at Amazon. But I feel like that like part of it is a true, that's like a real quality of the hustle life, and it's something to recognize. You got to always be on your toes. You got to always be willing and ready to change your attitude and change your strategy. So I mean, again, Frank, you've been awfully quiet this whole episode.
Just learning, man.
Now's the time to bring this idea home that I just threw out there. The hustle life with adapting and changing and rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
Give me some 2 cents on that.
No, 100%. I mean, I was just zoning in, man, because Elizabeth was talking like straightforward what it really is, man. And sometimes I love our podcast because I feel like everybody we bring, David, besides our audience, like we're learning, right? We're like understanding more of what they do. Not only that, but understanding the industry. And look, the hustle mentality. So one of my employees yesterday I took off, and I was out all day with my wife, right, celebrating 9 years, married, crazy, time flies, and we got home around.
Congrats!
Thank you. We got home like around 1-2 o'clock, and I ran back to the office, and I was working in the office, and my employee came in the morning and he took a picture of me, which I'm gonna make a crazy post about it, sleeping. He caught me in the office sleeping, right, and it's because. Like at one point it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I just passed out. I was so tired, and it's like, when you run a business, people see the outside of it, where it's like you're going out, you're having dinners, you're evolving, you're on podcasts, but deep within is like is nuts. Like what it takes, like the time, energy, strength, everything that you have to outpour into it, right? And the reality is that the level of hustle determines how far you're going to go, how far you're going to grow, how far you're going to exceed. And you have to put in those hours. There's no shortcuts. We have to climb the ladders. There's no elevators to success. And it's just, it's the reality of what being a business owner is. So, yeah, crazy. The New York, New York hustle mentality. That's why we created this podcast. We wanted people like you, Elizabeth, that are hustlers. Me and David are always saying, he spoke about it earlier, but being a mom and being a business owner is like next level hustle, right? We'll never understand that. But, I see my wife and I'm like, I go 3-4 hours with the kids, I go nuts, right? So I know it's next level, and I applaud you for that. And I applaud the hustle that you have inside of you. And you're a perfect candidate for the New York hustle. From Miami, Elizabeth Greene.
Maybe we should we should have like a special tag, Miami Hustle, because Miami's pretty up there. Like LA's relaxed.
Not technically Miami though. I'm like
sorry, yeah.
5 hours north.
The Florida Hustle.
Miami's fun though. Yes. I grew up close to there, but yeah, moved a bit north.
I just, whenever I think about Florida, I just think Miami is the whole Florida. So it's just my own. But obviously there's a ton of other places. But I do feel
it's a deceptively long state.
Yeah, I do feel like of all the states out there, Florida is. I mean, forget about the stereotype of the retiring. It's a state to retire. I feel like
yes.
whoever is there that's young is pretty. A lot of people from New York move there, so I guess it's as far as like New York mentality, it's not too far away on that list. So I want to also every time we do a post, every time we do a podcast, I always come up with like an inspirational post. I find an inspirational post that I think is relevant, and I thought that the post that I paired with today's episode was very relevant. It was something like, if you change the way you look at things, then the things that you're looking at will change. And again, it's a little bit correlated to advertising, because you could be managing a campaign and have a new thought and have a new strategy, and everything could change. And I tell my clients this all the time. You might not realize this, but a couple of like a small adjustment, even in a couple of cents, changing a bid from a certain number to a couple of pennies higher could get you completely different results. I feel like
absolutely.
I feel like with advertising, you have to constantly just change the way you're looking at things, and you have to constantly be thinking and strategizing. It really is, of all the spaces in the Amazon, world, it is maybe one of the most, like, if you're in the Amazon advertising space, you're pretty big on that hustle scale. I think it's safe to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, so with every single update, there's a new piece, there's a new way to move something. So I think, I like that, looking at things in different perspectives, because if you have a new lever you can pull, you have to learn, how does this lever relate to all the other ones? And if I take this little piece and I put it here, what does that do? Or, and you start thinking of, okay, so in theoretics, this works like this and this works like this. So logically, this could work like this. And, you test it, you try it, probably not with a high bid, but you try it and see how it works and go from there. So I like that.
Like the famous example of a kid in a candy store. If you're a data junkie and you have a lot of data to go over, like you said earlier in this episode, you find work to be a lot of fun. I feel like there's definitely some good, pieces in this. Look, we got Eitan. Hustle. What's going on, Eitan? How you doing? Shout out to Gatita.
Shout out to Gatita, man.
So okay, so I feel like we definitely, we gave some value to the audience today. We tied it into the hustle life. I feel like we got some good points out here. We're about to close the episode. We're gonna play the outro song in a second. But closing words, Frank. You're talking way too much this episode.
No, I'm just loving the vibes, man. I'm just letting it rock. I don't have a outro for We Are Live. I do the intro, you do the outro, bros. It's the vibe.
Came in the game, Millie Rock.
Okay.
Came from the 3-9 project.
Elizabeth, thank you, man.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For listening.
It's been fun.
How can people reach out to you, Elizabeth?
Best way is the website, Jungler, like on the screen, JUNGLR.com.
I love that name, by the way. I love the name.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.